people do know about this, but you were at one point tipped to be a finance minister.
True.
And
I was the wrong person for being tipped. And I'll tell you why. I firmly believe you need economists who understand things. I mean, I've just read a little. I'm not an economist. I don't think people like me should be finance ministers. Yes, people like me should be a part of a think tank pushing in the right direction.
Starting conversations.
And that, I think, the Pakistan Institute of Development Economics under the governorship of Dr. Nadim Haq is doing a wonderful job.
Therefore, there was this crying need of mutual funds, which Arif could see. And that's how we teamed up and we set it up and brought it to the marketplace. I think we had reasonable amount of success. And so much so that there were 7 other houses that came, spoke to me, and I'd give them guidelines how to set up their own.
Yes.
So my view was, it's got to spread, and I can't do it on my own.
Of course.
And it's worked. That way it worked. But as to why it hasn't grown, I feel that apart from the compulsory listings, there was also another incentive given to people to list, was a tax difference between the tax rate of a listed company and an unlisted company.
Correct.
So when you start doing things for the wrong reason, you're not listed again because you need the money, but also you get a tax break. Similar things happened with the mutual fund industry. You somehow got tax arbitrage here there. So you become daisy. So that's
which hits you out of the area.
So that's in a nutshell what has happened.
I see. And do you think, and this actually brings us to some of the other things we're going to talk about, do you think it has something to do with the inequality of wealth distribution, income distribution and wealth distribution in Pakistan, which resulted in a lot of people being sort of left out of the capital markets?
So yes, very so, but as I said, that when Pakistan was created, that there was a major reason or cause was to protect that class divide.
Yeah.
Now that class structure, the landed class, and that class structure has been around for centuries. Okay, it's not broken away. India had its landforms, it totally did away with they don't have any absentee land, zero. Now start planning, delivering money directly to every adult. And what the amount ought to be, there could be various thoughts about it, etc. My own sort of gut feel is that if we think the minimum wage is 36,000, then give 18,000 to everyone, which would mean a family with a man and woman have done, they'll effectively get the 36. Some will say that no, it'll make them lazy, etc., They won't strive for buying more. Albeit this has been tried across the board, in developed and undeveloped economies. And none of those fears that people think that, first of all, it's the people say, oh, you can't give charity. It's not a matter of charity. It's not like you have charity is when it's not your right. And if every adult citizen has a right, then it's not a charity.
UBI, Universal Basic Income, it's not a safety, right? It's not a bill. It's a basic standard.
Okay, and let me put it this way. Let's say if you take the poorest district somewhere in Pakistan where there's hardly any economic activity. If every adult man and woman were to receive, say, again, the number I was suggesting, say 5,000 a month, they will go out and spend it on their kids, food, on clothing. First thing they'll want to do is on teaching, on kids getting taught. So some person out there who's had a little bit of education will become a teacher. Another person who's got even half a doctor, they say leukemia is not good, but forget that. Let him become a compounder, offer some basic medical supplies, etc. out there. Someone will run a little Suzuki in between village and the town. All that economic activity will start taking place. So, as I said earlier, the economy is about money flows. Our problem is that there is not enough money flowing to the bottom of the pyramid.
And there is a feminist argument to this, isn't there? Because
Clearly. I mean,
if you give the money to the female in the household, or at least if there's a universal basic income, then all that money gets spent first on children's education and children's nutrition.
But not only that. I mean, the way to deal with the fact that the rights of women in Pakistan, there were issues with it. I mean, albeit even though there might be religious edicts supporting rights, but in practice we have a problem. So once a woman has money in her own pocket or her bag, she has a degree of confidence in herself.
And autonomy.
And autonomy. I mean, if you look at the last 5 years, our banks have done wonderfully well, okay, for basically doing nothing, sitting on government paper.
Yes.
Very small, I mean, as I said, 80 versus 20, and if you take off the entirety, so roughly government spending is not productive. Some of it is necessary. You need defense forces, you need civil administration, you need some infrastructure. Infrastructure will help you become more productive perhaps later, but it is not productive per se.
Yeah.
So the unproductive side of the economy, which is taking this money, the large chunk of it, should I call it the parasite, is maybe 5 times the size of the host.
Yes.
How long can this last?
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, as simple as that. Now, this is obviously not economics that economists will do, will foo me down and say, he's talking through his hat, etc. These are hard facts that need to be addressed. And there is a fair amount of number of economists worldwide who are now talking about these things. So I've only read them and talking about them. I'm not the inventor of this thought. Somewhere you started Benazir Income Support Program. Someone thought of it. We actually took the lead in this part of the world in that. So yes, there are thinkers within these political parties. Certainly, the Benazir Income Support Program in the previous government, Dr. Nishtal's way of handling it, things like that. I mean, ISAS was a continuation of that, but meaning there was a dedication towards that. So that needs to be a lot more of a conversation taking place.
And one of those things is getting rid of untargeted subsidies as well, right?
Automatically. Yes. Because see, you subsidize, as I said, the Behbood program.
Yes.
You don't even know that it's not recorded as a subsidy. It's just interest expense of the government higher than some of the other. But it's not recorded as a subsidy. The land that's dished out is not recorded as a subsidy. Or a tax break that someone's given is not recorded as a subsidy. It's just lower tax collection.
Governments are usually quite incompetent at regulating economies, but they can be very good at writing checks, right? Which is
the point is, when you are running a government, and that's why I take the extreme example of communist Russia, where it was said that someone in Moscow would decide which driver will drive that truck from point A to point B in Tashkent, for example. Okay, when you micromanage what you can eat, what you can buy, what you can, it just causes inefficiency. The one tried and tested mechanism humankind has evolved with is price discovery. Meaning, if there is a demand for something, all of us will get together and try and supply it. And the prices go up, so we start supplying. And once the supply gets overdone, the price takes a knock. So there's a market mechanism. That's the best way. So you don't want to do away with the market mechanism. With money in your pocket, you will decide. So there'll be a price mechanism. And one thing is where people again go wrong is trying a minimum wage, etc. Now in a country where there are hardly any jobs being created, you can have a minimum wage. Who's going to enforce it? If I hire a guard through a contractor, and the contractor pays him half the minimum wage, big deal. I might be a big corporation, very compliant, but the contractor isn't. Or everyone says child labor is wrong, bad, the kid needs to be in school, but the child is working because he's trying to help the family make ends meet. So in that society, when you bring in nice things, minimum wage, that, and feel good about it, there's very little real impact.
And universal basic income can actually have that.
People in the countryside don't. I mean, it's only registered organizations which will have a minimum wage. Average person
they won't.
Doesn't. So there's. So that's what I'm saying. That we tend to think that apply market to labor as well. Labor is different. I mean, you're a part of a family. You're living in a particular area. If there are no jobs there, you don't have the freedom to get up and go elsewhere and know where the other job is. I'll go work there. It's very difficult for you to move. And then there are barriers for you to move, let alone that there's a barrier against immigration in the developed world. When we had internally displaced persons, most provinces didn't welcome those poor internally displaced persons. So we are that terrible. And then we want to have the pretense of all the nice things we've created in the West, applicable to their economies, where there's near full employment, you can bring in a lot of things. Here, when there's near serfdom, we try and apply that, it cannot work. And that's why I say the basic income has to be universal.